Hello everyone, welcome back to my GH Spoiler channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. General Hospital, today's full episode, Friday, March 6th, 2026. Willow's dark past finally destroys her, and Port Charles will never be the same. You thought you knew Willow Tate. You were wrong. Everything she built, her marriage, her reputation, her carefully constructed life comes crashing down in Friday's jaw-dropping episode, and fans are already calling it the most devastating hour in General Hospital history. Friday's episode opens on a deceptively quiet morning at the Quartermain mansion. The golden light filters through the tall windows, and Willow Corinthos, née Tate, stands in the kitchen cradling a cup of coffee, staring out at the manicured gardens. She looks serene. She looks like a woman who has survived leukemia, motherhood, betrayal, and resurrection, and come out the other side whole. She looks, in other words, like a woman who has no idea her entire world is about to implode. Meanwhile, across town at the Port Charles Police Department, Detective Dante Falconeri slaps a thick manila folder down on his desk and leans back in his chair with the expression of a man who hasn't slept in 48 hours. Inside that folder, a name, a date, a crime that was never reported, never prosecuted, buried so deep that most of Port Charles had completely forgotten it existed. Until now. "You're sure about this?" Dante asks, glancing at his partner. The answer he gets back is a grim nod. He reaches for his phone, hesitates, then puts it back down. Because this isn't just a case anymore. This is personal. This involves someone he genuinely cares about, someone everyone in Port Charles has rallied around, prayed for, and called a hero. Back at the Quartermain estate, Michael is the first to sense that something is off. He watches Willow from across the breakfast table, the slight tremor in her hand, the way her eyes dart to her phone every 30 seconds, the rehearsed quality of her smile. He's been married to her long enough to know the difference between Willow at peace and Willow performing peace. Right now, she is performing. "Everything okay?" he asks. "Perfect," she says, and that single word hangs in the air between them like smoke. The bombshell drops at General Hospital itself, in the middle of the nurses' station, in full view of half the hospital staff. It comes not from the police, not from a villain, but from a face no one in Port Charles expected to see again. A woman named Renata Cross walks through those sliding glass doors wearing dark sunglasses and carrying a single manila envelope. She's calm, she's deliberate, she has clearly been waiting a very long time for this moment. Nurse Epiphany, back from a training conference and sharper than ever, clocks the woman immediately. "Can I help you?" "I'm here for Willow Corinthos. Tell her that someone from Harmony's past is here to finish what should have been finished years ago." The name Harmony lands like a grenade. Within minutes, word has spread through the hospital with the quiet, terrible efficiency that only a small city's gossip network can achieve. Bobby Spencer overhears it near the elevator. Amy Driscoll texts 3 people immediately, and upstairs in the pediatric wing where Willow volunteers 3 mornings a week reading to sick children, a nurse finds her and delivers the message. Willow goes completely still. What unfolds over the next 40 minutes of Friday's episode is nothing short of a masterclass in soap opera revelation. Because Renata Cross isn't a stranger. Renata Cross was a member of the Dawn of Day cult, not as a follower, but as an early victim who eventually escaped. And before she escaped, she witnessed something involving a younger, more desperate version of Willow Tate, doing something she has never admitted, never confessed, and never, until today, been forced to answer for. The details emerge in fragments, the way the worst truths always do. A missing community fund, falsified reports that led to a vulnerable woman being denied housing assistance, a cover-up orchestrated not by Shiloh, not by Harmony, but by Willow herself, back when she was still inside the cult and still willing to do anything to protect her standing within it. "You knew that woman needed help," Renata says, her voice shaking with a decade of suppressed fury, standing in the hospital corridor as staff members freeze and listen. "You signed the form that said she was a danger to herself. You know what happened to her after that?" The silence that follows is total. Willow doesn't run. That's what makes this scene extraordinary. She doesn't make excuses. She doesn't look around for an escape. She simply looks at Renata Cross, this woman she wronged in another lifetime, and her face does something it has never done before in the entire run of her character. It crumbles. Michael arrives just in time to witness it. He pushes through the small crowd that has formed, takes one look at Willow's face, and knows, in the bone-deep way that people who love someone truly know, that whatever is happening right now is real. This isn't a misunderstanding. This isn't someone targeting his wife out of malice. "Willow," he says softly, "what is she talking about?" And Willow Corinthos, leukemia survivor, devoted mother, beloved wife, woman Port Charles crowned as its golden-hearted saint, opens her mouth, closes it, and begins to cry. The episode closes not with a shouted confrontation or a dramatic score swell. It closes with something quieter and far more devastating. Michael taking one step back from Willow, just one step. The physical distance is barely a foot, but the look on his face, confusion, hurt, the first hairline fracture of trust, makes it look like a canyon. Dante arrives at the hospital just as the credits roll, folder in hand, the weight of what he has to do written all over his face. Port Charles has forgiven a lot. It has forgiven killers, con artists, mobsters, and liars. But Friday's episode asks its most uncomfortable question yet.